feel like all you guys set me up for this. How you doing, man? Good to see you, dude. This? No problem.
Well, you heard the general manager yesterday said leader in the clubhouse. How would you describe what your thought is as far as the quarterback situation, the pecking order heading into this offseason?
Well, I think it would have been pretty easy if Brock was healthy because the way Brock played last year, he'd be the starter going into it. Trey had that position going into the year. We were real excited about that, and we think he would have had a hell of a year. But he only got 1.5 games or 1.25. And then he went out, opened up an opportunity for Jimmy. Jimmy got hurt and opened it up for Brock. And Brock played 8 games and won all of them and played at an extremely high level. And we're very excited to have that level of a player as our quarterback. Now, we believe Trey can be that. I think he would have done it last year if he stayed healthy. The good thing for him is with Brock being hurt and stuff, he has an opportunity to try to regain that and everything. And that's also why we brought in Sam, because we can't be set for sure on Brock because you never know how the injury will go. We think it will go well, and we're optimistic about it, but right now that's on hold. And so it opens up an opportunity for Trey and for Sam to come in and show us what they have.
Can a guy like Trey win the job without playing games, whereas Brock, what he did was on the field?
I think it's going to be harder for him too. I mean, Brock played in 8 games, and Trey had that job going into last season, and if he would have played 8 games like that, no one else would have been able to come in and beat him out. But with Brock being hurt, it does open him up and it does give him a chance. Now, I don't know how Brock's going to come back. I don't know exactly when he's going to come back, so I don't have the exact answer for that. But right now, because he is hurt, it's nice to focus on Trey. It's nice to focus on Sam and see how they do OTAs, and most likely see how they're playing leading us into training camp. Because I think it will take some time for Brock.
What have your conversations with Trey been like throughout the offseason?
Same as they always are. Just checking in on him. I see him here and there. He's up in the office sometimes. His rehab's going well. He started throwing. He's been traveling around, working with some quarterback coaches, throwing the ball, and I'm excited to get into phase 1. We can start working together.
What was his attitude like with Brock taking over throughout that whole?
As good as it can be. Trey's a great person, but he's also smart and knows what he saw. He knows he knows the level Brock played at, so he understands that. I've talked to Trey the same way I'm talking to you guys now, so he gets it, and I think Trey's just excited to be healthy and excited to come in and get those reps and show us what he can do.
A lot of teams say we don't care where we're drafted, we're just going to play the best guy, but you guys are actually doing that. Do you kind of pride yourselves on doing that?
I don't know. We definitely played the higher draft pick first, and he had an injury, and it gave opportunities to other guys. But I think people realize the level that Brock played at last year, and when you see that, draft's how you enter this league. But that's all that is. I mean, after it is building your team and playing the best players. I think D'Amico will be as good as he is in everything he's done his whole life. I mean, start with Rookie of the Year, being a captain of a team playing. He was our QC, and I think he became our linebacker coach in like 6 months. I think he was our coordinator in 3 years, and he became a head coach in 2 years. So everything D'Amico's done, he's done at an extremely high level, and I feel Houston's very fortunate to have him.
Is there a moment that you saw that D'Amico had what it took to be a head coach? Or that he could be?
I mean, no, there's not like a specific moment. You know people, and you know people who have that ability, that charisma, people who have that work ethic, and D'Amico's always had the full package. And I think whatever he decided to do in life, he was going to find a way to get to the pinnacle of that profession.
Talking to Mike and Saleh about this too, what y'all had in San Francisco, it seemed like a lot of young guys who hadn't been first-time play callers. They kind of talked about how there was like really an unset expectation not to let the whole thing down. I mean, what was that group
not
like?
To what?
Not to let the whole organization down. But y'all have really talked about that. Like, how did you go about organizing that? What, like reaching out to these guys? What about that youth was special?
It's not necessarily youth. It's I'd worked in the league for know, like 14 years or something before I became a head coach, and you get to meet people, you get to go against people, you get to work with people, and then you get an opportunity to become a head coach and try to put a staff together. And all you're trying to do is put the best people together possible, and it's tough with contracts and stuff and people in certain positions, but John and I had no problem giving guys their first opportunity, but it wasn't just because they were young. It was because you had worked with those guys or gone against them, and you believe they were the best people for the job. And we try to do that all the time, and I think we've hit on most people.
Why Sam Darnold? Why hasn't it quite worked out for him being the number 3 pick in the draft? And what do you see in him that suggests it's not over?
I mean, Sam has as good of a skill set as there is. That's why he went as the 3rd pick in the draft. When you study his play, you can see it too. I don't think he's always been in the best situations, which it's tough for quarterbacks, it's tough for all players, but is one position. There's another 10 guys around you too. And I think Sam has played and done some really good things in this league. Hasn't won a ton of games and done some situations where you're going to keep both teams in the game because you got to keep slinging that ball and give yourself your team a chance to win. And so you don't always have the best stats, but you see the ability. He's always had that ability since his first year in college when we started watching him, and there's no reason he can't do it. So I'm excited to get to know him as a person because I've always liked him as an athlete. I've always liked him as a prospect. I like how he throws. I like his athletic ability. Now we're excited to just get him with us, get to work, and see how he plays our offense.
Why is it so difficult to evaluate quarterbacks coming out of college to the pros, and what type of things in particular do you typically look for when you're trying to evaluate whether they'll be good in the future?
You got to have a certain skill set to make it in this league. You got to be a good enough thrower. If you're not one of those elite guys in that way, you can make up for it in other skill sets. But the hardest thing with evaluating is, how you're successful in college doesn't always equate to the NFL. There's certain schemes and stuff like that where you just play fast, you spread it out. Eventually in the NFL, you have to sit in that pocket and play the quarterback position, which doesn't happen in college very much. You don't always have to do that. So that takes reps for guys to do, and it takes a certain type of ability that you can't just measure. You got to see them do it, and sometimes it takes the league to watch them do that. So it's always a crapshoot.
Would there ever be any interest in Lamar Jackson?
I'm not allowed to talk about people on other rosters. But
Well, he is non-exclusive, so he can talk to other teams.
you sure?
Yeah, positive.
I mean, you got to prepare me for that. So you don't be setting me up.
I'm not, I promise. I've asked everybody else too.
Yeah, everyone knows Lamar's skill set. Lamar's a stud. I'm sure they'll work it out there, but Lamar's a great player.
So no interest for the 49ers?
We've got 3 quarterbacks we're pretty good with right now, and pretty excited with how we built our roster salary cap-wise.
Thank you.
Kyle,
Speaking of that, the roster, the move to get Javon Hargrave, is that a direct result of having quarterbacks who aren't super highly paid, and how much is that a part of what you guys are doing philosophically right now?
It's everything. A couple of years ago, we realized some of the players that we had and drafted, and guys like Fred, guys like Kittle, guys like Debo, guys like Bosa, guys like Greenlaw. We knew all these guys were coming up, and you can't keep all those guys if you don't have a quarterback in a rookie deal. So we saw kind of where this was going. We made a decision to go to a rookie quarterback a few years ago, and that was Trey. And that's what allowed us to sign all these guys. It's what allowed us the whole quarter. And then he had a very rough injury you can recover from, but it's been very long. And he's finally there. So he started to throw again and wanted to get out there and play football. And hopefully see him get right to where he left off and take a few steps forward after that.
Would you be comfortable starting with Brock week 1 even if he misses most of training camp, or would that complicate your decision?
Yeah, I got to see people in practice. So I got to see where he is. I mean, we're going to start whoever gives us the best chance to win. Brock's the guy who's leading that because we've seen him play. But he's hurt right now, and I don't know if we'll have him week 1. I don't know if we'll have him in training camp. I think there's a possibility in all that. They say in 3 months, which I think is 2 months from now, we'll have a better idea on where it's going to go. So I just wait and see where it's at.
Hey, Kyle, you guys have a good, obviously, stable of quarterbacks. I'm curious if you could maybe eliminate your conversations with John Lynch as far as, someone like Trey or whoever, standing out as a, target for, trades, or obviously being like a monetizable asset as far as people still looking for quarterbacks.
Yeah, we
Or trade asset.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel in a very good situation at quarterback to where we went and drafted a guy that we really wanted, and we don't feel any different about him now than we did 3 years ago when we took him. Just it's been unfortunate hasn't gotten to play. He was going to get a play this year, and I think people were going to be very impressed with him, so were we. But that unfortunately got hurt. Now we sit here, and that opened up opportunities, and we got another guy who can play very well. We brought in Sam Darnold who can play, and I hope all three of these guys are with us, and I don't want to lose any of them. But we'll listen to anything. It's like we'll listen if someone wants to trade for John Lynch, and if someone wants to trade for me, I'm sure John Lynch will listen. We'll listen on anything, but our goal is always to see how good we can make our team. And we feel we're in a very good situation at quarterback right now, not just with three guys who are capable of being starters, but we also got three guys that have allowed us to build a very good roster. And I feel any of those three, with how our roster is, can get in, play at a certain level, stay healthy. I think we can go with any of those guys.
Have you said to John any of these guys should be, hands off?
No, I don't say anyone's hands off.
Kyle, Michael Vinci wrote an interesting first-person type thing for ESPN. Talked about, moving on. Was it just a case of a salary cap situation with him, not being able to retain him, and how do you kind of look at that situation and him moving on?
Yeah, Mike just is too good. I mean, it's we hated losing him, but we know the level that Mike played at. We had a feeling what his market would be. I don't think Mike necessarily wanted to leave, and we didn't want him to leave. But when you play at that level, and your market's going to be that, it's a good problem for him. And we hate to lose him, but we also pay our other tackle a lot of money. We have money in certain players, and when you look at all these positions, people talk about Louis Buck a number of years ago. That has to do with balancing out a roster, and so it doesn't have to do with specific players. It has to do with how to build a team. And when you have a lot of money in your other tackle and things like that, you want to pay two tackles that much money, and you got to take away a lot of people who touch the football or who go sack the quarterback, and that's not really what we totally believe in.
Kind of sticking with the Broncos, Sean McVay says he likes stealing from a lot of people, but Sean Payton's high on his list. Is Sean Payton high on the list of people you steal from, and how excited are you see him back in the league and with a team that obviously means a little bit to your family?
Yeah, I love seeing Sean back. It's cool he's in Denver. Sean's done it at a high level for so long. Always watch him. It's good to have him in so we can always see some more stuff. And it's cool to see Denver get a good coach.
Well, and then a good coach in Denver with your dad, too. How much do you spend, I see John McClain's Hall of Fame hat, thinking about this could be the year your dad will be in the mix again to get his bust in camp?
Yeah, I don't know how all that stuff works. But hopefully he'll get in there. He definitely should be. And he's as good a coach as I've ever worked with.
Kyle, how long did it take for you to understand your own tendencies as a play caller? How long did that take, and what were some of the things that helped you most in that?
I don't know. I think as you call plays and stuff, you have a certain personality, so you do that stuff, and then you learn from your experiences. So whatever you go through, it's always changing. Play calling is about what you're going against. It's how to win a game. I think when you start out, you're just thinking about moving the ball, getting points, getting yards, which is the right way. But then you start, as you experience things, is how do I win this game overall? And you start to take into account of your defense. You start to take into account of the quarterback, the opposing team's quarterback. And I used to have no problem calling a lot of risky calls when I was younger. And then you realize why maybe sometimes those are stupid and sometimes why you need to call them. But that goes through succeeding and failing, and you build off that, and that's why I think everyone gets better the more experience you have.
Kyle, all things considered, 5.5 years with Jimmy, where your team was when it got here, just the totality of it. How do you look back on Jimmy Garoppolo's time with the 49ers?
I think it was extremely successful. I mean, look at his record. I know he had a hard time staying healthy with us. The 1 year that he did stay healthy, it took us to the Super Bowl. There was 2 other years that, the next year that he stayed the most healthy, we went to the NFC Championship. Jimmy played at an extremely high level for us and allowed us to win a lot of games, and he's a very good quarterback.
Have you had any conversations with him since he's moved on, or before that?
That would be impossible. You got to run into Jimmy to have a conversation with him.
Have you spoken to Brock?
For anybody, that's not just me.
Have you spoken to Brock since he had the surgery?
Yes.
And how is his
He's
mood?
great. He says he's got to be patient with it. He loved it's always nerve-wracking how long they had to wait for the surgery because you never know for sure until they open you up and look at it. So I know that was tough on him. So I know once he got out of the surgery and they said it was clean and everything, I know that took a lot of anxiety off of him, and now he's just ready to get at it and get back on schedule and hopefully get to training camp.
What was
What's
it
the
like
timeline?
for you?
Yeah, what's the timeline? So is he John said he's here now, and then what's his plan?
I mean, we start phase 1, so I expect everyone back at that time. So I think he'll do his rehab down here, and then I'm sure he'll move it to us, and he won't be able to do anything on the field for who knows. You know, I think it can go anywhere from 6 months to 8 months. So it's all open like that. I think we'll have a better idea. They say at 3 months out of surgery, they have a better idea whether it's going to be 6 months or 8 months. So I don't know, it's how it heals, and I know I'm sure I'll get lots of questions from Eric on that, but that's all I know, and I'm pretty good with that. So we'll see in 3 months if he can be ready for camp, or if not, we'll possibly say, hey, it's going to go a little slower. It might be week 1. I think hearing at the latest week 4, but that's just all estimations, and we'll see what happens.
What was that period like for you, waiting to find out whether it was going to be the repair, the reconstruction? And did you have like contingency plans, like if it's reconstruction, we might need to do something a little more drastic at quarterback?
I hope to get first team reps, but I like to see them in phase 1. I want to see how they come in. We get to go on the field with them in phase 2, and OTAs. I expect them both to work with the first team, but we'll see how that goes.
How many do you like to go into training camp with generally?
What's
How
that?
many quarterbacks do you want to go into training camp with?
3. Yeah, I'm good with 4, but that 4th guy doesn't get reps. I will take him on our 90, but we want 3 guys who we know we're trying to play with.
What do you envision for that third quarterback? We're not including Brock as the third quarterback for training camp. So what are you looking for there? Could it be a draft pick, or more than likely an undrafted guy, or a veteran?
For our 4th pick quarterback? I mean, we'll always take a guy that we believe's right. I mean, when you get to the draft and we rank everybody, and you want to go best player, but you also want to go with guys who can make your team too. I think it'd be very hard for a quarterback to make our team. But if I also thought it was going to be hard for Brock to make our team. But we had a high grade on Brock, and we really liked him. And he was sitting there in the 7th round. We weren't going to spend a 5th round pick on him because it was going to be tough for him to beat out Sudfeld. And we probably weren't going to keep 3 guys. But we spent our 7th round on him because he was by far the best guy available. And then he played at a high level, and we didn't want to lose him. So we kept him on our team, and we kept 3 quarterbacks. So that's kind of how it plays out. I'm sure we'll get another quarterback in our building, especially with Brock probably not being able to go with the starting at training camp. I'm just guessing. So I'm sure we'll get a guy, at least a free agent. But you never know how that draft goes. You never know how our evaluation goes. And I know those guys are way ahead of that. Compared to me, but I'll start that next week when I get back, and we'll rank everybody, and if there's a guy in the draft that makes sense, we'll take him.
You say that
Last one, guys.
It was hard for Brock to make the team. At what point in training camp last year did you realize that he wasn't going to
Those are tough decisions because if he's not going to be your second quarterback, you'd love to keep him on practice squad, and so you can have other people make your team. But Brock started doing some things in preseason games that made us scared we were going to lose him. Because he did show some ability. And once we saw that and we saw there was a risk to lose him, then we had to really make it an open competition for him to try to win that 2 job. And he did it pretty fast. And when he did that, it made it simple.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks.